Welcome to Jamie TV, thank you for tuning in. I've made demo videos for YouTube for both the Synido TempoPAD and the Synido Tempo Key. Now recently Synido got in touch and they wanted to send me this one, the TempoPAD Z-1. And at first I was going to say no, because I've seen controllers of this type used for live looping and for beat making and stuff like that. And I've always just kind of presumed that controllers like this, whilst they always look awesome and cool, are probably not for musicians like me. You know, I don't do live looping or beat making, I don't use loops. I just like to play instruments and compose in a linear DAW. But then I thought, you know, I've always been kind of curious about these sort of controllers, and Synido stuff has really impressed me in the past. So let them send it and I'll make a video where we discover, is a controller like this of any use to a musician like myself? And along the way I'll give you an idea of how it works and the quality of it. But if you need the kind of video where someone compares this controller to other controllers of this type, I'm afraid this can't be that kind of video because I'm just not qualified. I love this purple. Open the box lid and the inner lid offers some connectivity diagrams for computers, synths and mobile devices. Below that, as we've come to expect from Synido, a very nice carry case is included. User manual, and here's the Z-1 itself. And in the compartment to the left there's a USB-A to USB-C cable, an adapter to convert that cable to USB-C to USB-C, and a connector for Midi cables, which you might use to control a hardware synth, for example. In drum mode, the Z-1 presents you with 4 colour-coded banks of 16 pads, the bottom left pad being the lowest note. The blue pads ascend chromatically, followed by the purple pads, then yellow, then blue. This works great for me in Groove Agent, where many of the kits have numerous samples spread over multiple banks of 16 pads. You'll see I've colour-coded the pads in Groove Agent to match the controller because the Midi note information and colours cannot be changed in the Z-1 editor software for this mode. If I hit the velocity button here, I can use the up and down arrows to switch between 4 different velocity curves. There's logarithmic for players who prefer to hit the pad softer but want a higher velocity result. Linear, which suits most players best as it sits somewhere between logarithmic and the next mode, exponential, which is for players who like to hit the pads really hard. And the last mode is full constant velocity, which sends a velocity value of 127 regardless of how hard or soft you hit the pad. Keys mode gives you a 4-octave keyboard. The purple notes are C, and a chromatic run would be played like this, taking you to the octave of C. That C then repeats over here, where you can begin your next octave. Speaking of octaves, if I press the Octave button, I can use the arrow keys to take us up and down the octaves. And I can use Transpose to shift the key up and down 1 semitone per press. Down here we have transport buttons that we can map easily to our digital audio workstation's transport controls. And this button here will switch between CC and MMC commands. If I press light, I can adjust the brightness of the backlit pads like so. To the side of the unit is this ambient lighting strip, which picks up sound via a little built-in microphone. The way the light strip responds can be changed by selecting from 4 different moods here. I do love this feature, but if you don't dig it, if you don't dig that happy dancing light, then you can switch it off with a little button to the side. But this area will continue to display useful information when using functions like Transpose and Octave. In user mode, the pads are configured the same way as in drum mode, but you'll see that none of them are lit. That's because this is the mode you would use if you wanted to set up lighting sequences for the pads, which is configured in the companion software here. Whilst in this software, I'll just click here to show you. This is where you would use easy mode to import, edit, and assign samples to be triggered by the pads. As I read the manual for the Z-1, I couldn't fail to be very impressed by all the features that it has. It's very versatile, and at the price point the build quality is impressive, but I couldn't help feeling that this controller was something I would demo and then put on a shelf forever. But then, whilst I was checking out the accompanying software on my desktop, which you can download from Synido's website, I had a light bulb moment. In the custom bank, each and every pad can be assigned to whatever MIDI channel you desire. So I built myself a work surface with 2 keyboards, a set of drum pads, a set of effects sample pads, and a row of keys for synth pads. I made the colours of each control surface correspond to the track colours in my project in my iOS DAW, Cubasis 3. Then I simply connected the Z-1 to my iPad's hub and assigned each instrument in my project to receive MIDI on the channel I'd assigned the relevant control surface to. This meant that I could work on a piece I was keen to progress, playing all the instruments from one controller, here in the studio, or in the house whilst watching the kids, or in the car whilst waiting to give my daughter a lift home, etc. This is a stunning time saver for me. Making music never has to stop. In the studio, I can easily set up 5 controllers, but in the park, maybe not. But here's my first complaint, the one and only thing that has really disappointed me about this controller. There is no controller editing software available for iOS, so I have to set up the Z-1 on my PC before I leave the studio. If I find I want to make any changes to the layout whilst I'm out and about, I simply can't. The same could be said for many MIDI controllers, but the first thing I ever demoed from Synido was the original TempoPAD, and that did have iOS editor software to download from the App Store, and it made it the drum controller to buy for iOS users. So if you like to get out and about and produce on the move with a laptop, this controller is a winner. For iOS musicians, not so much. I'm going to divide my closing thoughts into 2 parts. First of all, the build quality. It's very, very well built. It's well designed, it's very robust, well thought out. It doesn't slide around the desk while using it. The pads do feel absolutely great. I love the functions and the features, and I'm particularly happy about the fact that Synido included an extra USB-C port on the back, so that if you're a mobile user, you can plug that into the mains to charge it, so you're not drawing power from your device. However, for iOS users, I did find that if you have a good quality hub plugged into your iOS device, if you simply plug into the data transfer USB-C port and plug that into your hub, that will be sufficient to power it, and it will work brilliantly. Now, part 2. I think if you're a beat maker, if you're a live looper type of person, then this is, at this price point, it's going to be absolutely superb. I'm not an expert on that kind of thing, but I can't see why you would have a problem with this bit of kit. If you like to make music while you're on the move and you are laptop based, then again, I think this is excellent, because while you're working on a project, you might say, well, I'm going to use this synth and I'm going to give myself 2 octaves of keyboard. So with the companion software, you assign that in custom mode. And then you might go, well, I want to use these 5 samples, so I'm going to make these 5 pads a different color and put them on a different MIDI channel, and so on and so on. So as you're working on your piece of music, you use your companion software to build all the control surfaces that you need on one device, which is great for making music while you're traveling about. Now, for me personally, when I'm traveling about and making music on the go, I'm an iOS user. And so for me, this is less useful because there isn't companion software for iOS, which is a real shame, because it's part of the market that Synido could have nailed, and they're missing out on it. And to be honest, it's that good that I think that iOS users are missing out too. But if you are the kind of iOS musician who is simply looking for something that you can very easily MIDI map to a clip launcher or that kind of software, then this is superb. And the drum mode and key mode do work flawlessly in iOS without any kind of pissy panting about. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, do put them in the comments below this video. Until my next video, take care of yourselves, be kind and be good people, make lots of music, and do try not to pissy pants about. I'll see you later.